All right. My special guest today, we have Sean Howard, Coach Sean Howard, a Fight Fit coach with us. Sean, this is your anniversary today. Did you know that?
Is it my real anniversary today?
Yeah, it's your 3-year three-year work anniversary since you became a coach here at Fight Fit.
Okay, so I expect a gift in the post, right?
Yeah. Oh, I got one for you. This is your gift.
Yes, my boosting my social presence. Thank you.
I know you'd love it. I knew you would love doing this, something like this. So, anyways, Coach Sean, he is a resident coach here. You may not have seen him in some of the online workouts yet, as he is a full-time manager. What's your position?
So I'm manager of life and health claims at TD.
Okay, so he lives the corporate gig on one side of it, and on the other side, this guy is a fitness freak. He actually started off as a client, as one of our ninjas, a few years, maybe a year or two. He's always crushed it in the workouts, and it just was amazing. It was just an easy transition from client to where he is coach. Plus, he's done years of fitness himself. By the way, guys, this episode is a vegan themed episode because Coach Sean is a vegan, and it's sponsored by, guess what? Fight Fit vegan protein powder. We do have vegan protein powder, and we are doing curbside pickup. So if you want the vanilla pea protein or the chocolate, we have that for you. Or else we have the regular way as well. We have it in birthday cake and chocolate peanut butter to get your protein intake in for the day. Sean, I just had to do that little plug. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks, Joe. Can I just say, and this is not a plug, I've tried a lot of vegan protein, and ours is one of the top 3 that I've had over the last 5 years. So if you are not a protein fan and you're going vegan or vegetarian, try it. It's amazing. So good.
Curbside pickup. For doing it. Thank you for that. Awesome. So Sean, let's start off with your story. What got you started into fitness? Let's take it back.
Wow. I'm going back a few decades, Joe. I think for me, I grew up playing sports with my dad. He was really sports oriented, and he believed in organized sports. So we were playing baseball and a few other things, my brother and I. And, I got more academic growing up, and I got away from sports. And I think your 20s are a little bit different. That's when you want to be flashy and feel strong and look good, and your motivations are a little bit different. So I started dabbling a lot in strength, in my 20s again, and just getting connected to a really good team who, knew what they're doing back on the East Coast. And, that's kind of how it reignited in my life, kind of post-teen. And I think just coming here has really accelerated that. So in the last, 3 years, I've joined the Fight Fitness community, and I've been really, digging into the health and wellness industry. Even though I have a full-time gig, it's definitely a passion of mine, just kind of learning and expanding and skilling up, and, giving credit to all those who, I am influenced by, like yourself, and everybody that I learn from. So I'd say, I've had an experience journey, definitely in the last 20 years, just kind of, going through life and different motivations.
So where are you from out east, for those that don't know?
I'm from beautiful St. John, New Brunswick. So Maritimer, born and raised on the East Coast, relocated to Ontario in 2017.
3 years. Was it
years.
2017?
Officially, I was living at a hotel as the end of 2016.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way from the East Coast. So got into fitness, doing things on his own. He's got an amazing journey. I don't know if you know. You have a weight loss journey, and I don't think many people know about this. I'd like you to share a little bit about this.
I will. I wish we had a screen grab. I will find that. I did commit that to you.
Yeah.
I think my priority shifted, and I was in the kind of upswing of my career. And for about a year, it was everything to do with work and nothing to do with my health. And I put on about 65 pounds. So I got up to 240. And I'm 5'11 and a half on a good day. And it's, it's certainly a huge departure from what I was used to. It's the heaviest I ever been in my life. And it took me, just listening to people and, the daily challenges of life and breathing heavy and, having people just commenting kindly, but just being so oblivious to where I was health-wise and losing myself and my focus. So that was a huge thing. That was, I think, 2015, about 5 years ago. And over 6 to 8 months, I decided to take control back, and, hooked up with a really great trainer friend of mine on the East Coast, and hit it hard. And, no excuses. I was in the gym, just learning and training and, being diverse and getting outside and moving my body. And all of a sudden I started to make that connection again. My passion for fitness came back, and, I realized all the benefits of it, and it really made me humble, because you live life and you're a certain way, and, you perform a certain way, and you look a certain way and you feel good. And then to have a challenge like that, it really humbles you and it gives you perspective. So anybody who's, challenged and, has been there and through the yo-yo, certainly I've been there, and we all have our own experience. So it's definitely something I grew a lot from, but I will find that picture.
Where were you at your highest in terms of, do you know where you were?
240.
240 pounds.
Yeah.
Where are you now?
About 180.
180. So we're talking 60-pound difference in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That is wild. And that kind of stuff doesn't happen just overnight. Like, what was it that got you to gain all that weight over as you started focusing on your career?
You know what it was? I was doing 80-hour work weeks, and I was highly stressed. And the last thing on my mind was finding time. And I made a lot of excuses for myself. And you don't realize that when you're in the bubble. And, I just prioritized kind of work, sleep, eating at really odd times, not taking care of myself, mentally wasn't in the best place, not resting. Great for my career, terrible for my body and my waistline.
Right. It was just fitness, health. It was just on the back burner. It sounds like it wasn't something you were you even thinking about it? Did you notice?
Yeah, it was like a year of limbo, because you're so committed to something else and so focused that you don't even think about, you're just going through the motions, and your body tends to break down. So it lasted for the better part of a year until I started to break down a little bit. And, my breathing, and there are other medical things that crept up and said, oh, geez, this isn't how I should be living my life. So there's a personal health issue for me that, helped me swing back.
Wow. So it was like 60 pounds that just crept up over the year. And it's this is a story I hear a lot from a lot of clients, is like, they don't even know how it just comes off until bam, something happens health-wise. And then you got to flip it 180. So talk to me about this journey. It was like 6 to 8 months for you to lose that 60 pounds, would you say?
Yeah, I think it was 6 to 8 months, a year to realize that I was in a bad situation. And then I took action after that point. And then it was just planning and getting the right team. And, we'll talk about team a little bit later, but having the right people and influencers around me. And 6 to 8 months of just consistent, even when I didn't want to do it. Really good nutrition, really good accountability. I was sending my food diary to my trainer. It was something that we would scrutinize. I was showing up consistently, didn't take a day off, and really kind of focused on the mental side of things too. So in addition to the physical of it, I was having, conversations and doing some, kind of mental sharpness exercises just to make sure I didn't end up in a place like that again. So it was, pretty quick when you think about, 6-7 months to lose 60, 65 pounds. I credit it to just having a good baseline, in being in that industry and knowing what to do. And I know it's not as easy for a lot of people, and, it's a daunting number. But, I can't take all the responsibility for that. Certainly I credit to everybody who was, part of that with me. It was a team effort for sure.
Right. Awesome. I got so proud of you, son. Is that your dad?
Oh, that's my dad.
Awesome. Look at that. You got shout outs. Sean said something very specific. He's talking about he had a team around him. He had accountability. How critical do you think that was a role? Because a lot of people have different personalities when it comes to losing weight. Like, some people need a ton of accountability. Mm-hmm. Some people don't. Like, where would you say you are in the spectrum?
I'll speak generally in broad strokes. I think, we hear a lot of buzzwords like tribe, and there's no, I in team. And for me, and I talked to you about this, Joe, the concept of the team is huge. When you think about anything that has been accomplished in, business or from a championship perspective, all the great milestones in history, this wasn't one person pulling the weight. This was an entire team. So when I think about team, I think about who's in your circle that, is your motivator, who pushes you, who, challenges you to think, who's completely opposite from you and, brings that diversity. Who's your medical team? How are you taking care of your body and your mental? So I think it's really important to stack the deck for yourself and make sure you have a really great team. And I wouldn't even say a tribe. A tribe is kind of a singular vision. I would say a team, and a team really promotes diversity and contributes to, all those facets in your life. So for me, it was everything. It was nutritional coaching. It was having, the physical coaching, but also the medical side of things and the professionals and those people who know how your body should work and can contribute to that side of it too. It's a 360-degree approach if you think about it. But the team is a huge part, and it's something that I think about all the time. And who's around me in my circle, and how am I contributing to somebody else's team? Because I think it should reciprocate.
For sure. It reminds me of the quote, "You're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with the most." And I think your journey just highlights how important that is, because you surrounded yourself with the right medical experts, the right coaches, the right trainers, which is huge. So we got the Evans here. Love the team versus the tribe. That was a great analogy. So talk to me now about this transition from, you lost the weight now. You're at a place where fitness needs to be part of your life. How did you keep it going after? Because this is an issue we run into. Once people lose the weight, how do they keep it off?
Yeah, listen, I've been up and down, and I've learned a lot, and how I approach this in my 30s was a lot different than how I approached this in my 20s, and transitioning into I'm terrified to say it, but my 40s in a few years. Don't judge
me. Getting close, man. Getting close.
Yeah, it's the lighting. I look good, right?
Yeah.
But it's completely different. And what I've learned is you need a motivator, and that motivator can be anything. But if you don't have the motivator, you don't have the purpose. And the motivator is something, it could be as easy as, I want to feel this way, I want to fit into this, I want to perform at this level. But if you don't have an that it doesn't exist in your life, you'll always revert back. So for me, the it was longevity. I was going through health issues, and I'm realizing, hey, in my 20s, and I'll give you a car analogy. You want that fast car, strong, has a lot of output, and you're just in there crushing weight to crush weight. In my 30s, I realized, mileage matters, right? The longevity matters, how I take care of myself, the maintenance. So I've completely flipped the switch, and that's what's allowed me to stay on track, is to focus on the it, and my it is longevity. I want to perform as well as I can for as long as I can. And that's really kept me focused with fitness over the last few years. And I have a good kind of analogy for it, or acronym. So when you think about your it, you need to I, intensely, T, target it. So that intense target should be what you're focusing on. And that's what's going to drive your purpose and motivation. So those are the key things that I've learned through the years, and things that I've been, keeping top of mind as I kind of transition in my life and through my fitness goals.
That's awesome. So just so the listeners and viewers can understand this, he mentioned something earlier with this. He goes up and down. We all do. And I think this idea that we're 100% all the time is a myth of, even fitness professionals ourselves. We work in seasons, just like me. I go ups, I go downs, as long as there is a target, like he said, and we have plans around it. And this is why it's so important to have that coaching and that team around you to help make sure that you have the right targets to chase after. So love that analogy, man. It's good. So, you realize fitness is part of your life. Let's make that transition now. What made you want to suddenly start to coach people, want to start coaching people?
It's a great question. I've been in a leadership capacity, when I think back, I was, probably 12 or 13. I had my own paper route. I was making my own money, and I liked that. And, I kind of have floated through, different careers and have landed one in the last 11 years where I've had, the ability to lead people and have an impact. But the impact you make at a corporate level is very different than you have with people on an individual level about something that's so personal. I work on a lot of projects and things that have, lead times of a year, 2 years. I don't get that instant feedback. It's gratifying when we get there, but it's not instantaneous. And I think that's where the coaching comes in. I really love the instant gratification. It's such a connective process when you're in an environment with somebody who has a revelation or has a aha moment, and you can actually see the results and you can see the motivation and the enthusiasm face to face, and it's addictive. And anybody who's been in one of my classes, when I come to coach, I leave it all out there. I don't leave 1% behind. And, I often go home with no voice, exhausted. And people can attest to this. I sound like I'm going through puberty sometimes when I'm coaching because I'm just that intense. But that intensity is a direct connection to my motivation to want to see people reach their potential.
Of that. So you touched on something really important, like long-term projects, corporate projects. I mean, you see the outcome over time, which actually for most people's transformations does take a little while. Like our clients that have lost 50, 75, even 100 pounds, it's taken longer than, maybe even a year.
Sure.
But I think it's when you see the little wins from people, like them actually tracking their foods for 1 week or hitting a calorie target or even hitting a push-up. And then it becomes little performance targets that we as coaches see from people that are those little wins that give us that like almost dopamine like hit.
Right.
Which I think is why we get so addicted to becoming coaches in the fitness industry.
Oh, you're exactly right. And I just want to credit you, Joe, and Fight Fitness and the team here. When I talk about team, I found you guys at a very low point in my life when I lost my mother, and I moved here 8 weeks after, and I found this place, Fate, and it's changed my life, and I've been connected to people who influence me and challenge me and make me laugh, but also to sit back and see what we do with our community and with people. And I've been so blessed to meet so many great ninjas here and have great clients. They've really impacted my life positively, and it's been such a nurturing thing and such a positive, uplifting thing. I can't imagine not being part of this team and seeing everybody win and reach their goals. It's been an incredible 3 years for sure.
Awesome, appreciate that, Sean. So talk about the transition. You found Fight Fit. And what made you want to become, like, I know you get the hit when you get the dopamine hit when you see clients succeed, but why the switch? What made you want to go from client to coach?
So let me dial it back. So this place, I was debating between a few boot camps. I landed on Fight Fit. I read the reviews, and I said, okay, that was one avenue. And then I said, let me try it out on a Groupon. So it was really fate, and it was just geography. You were the closest place to my office.
Nothing else, nothing special about it.
Nothing else. It was, what is the closest place, because my time is precious. So I found this place. I came on a Groupon, like I'm sure many have. And two coaches at the time who are no longer with us, but I know still connected. The energy was intense. I met some great people. Everyone was welcoming. I know Brianne, she just had a huge smile when I walked in. What a way to kind of walk into a gym and just feel connected immediately. And then I had great coaches at the time who were just as crazy as I was and really pushed me. And I think within the first week, I fell in love with the energy here and the people and the environment and kind of the mission that we stand for. And then there was an opportunity that came up for an internship. And I was just settling back into corporate life. I took on a new job. I had a new team, multiple teams at the time. And, it was a good opportunity. And, I think when, fate shows their cards, you need to jump sometimes. And it was something that I wanted to pursue, and, definitely not a regret. Interesting transition, though, when you think about client to coach, it's not the easiest transition, but it's one that, I enjoyed the challenge. And, I think after 3 years, it's definitely paid off.
For sure. So you just saw the internship come up and you're like, this is the perfect opportunity to do it.
Yeah, listen, like I said, in my 30s and mid 30s at the time, I just was looking to learn. It's all about learning and skilling up. And, this was a skill that, I wanted. And the team was great. And I could see myself contributing to that team, but also just being around people that you enjoy being around. And it's all about that good environment, that good energy, and great clients. And, it was an easy decision. And I had to prove myself, coming as a quieter guy, and then landing into probably one of the loudest coaches in your history. Maybe next to Dennis. Dennis is very loud too.
Yeah, he's pretty loud. Dennis is pretty loud.
Yeah, he has a great diaphragm for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. Like, so just to touch on this, because I want to bring it back to the beginning. He talked about 2 types of teams that he brought. His first initial transformation is with his own personal fitness transformation. He had a team, health experts, trainers, coaches, and everything to help transform his life, help him lose that 60 pounds. But the other side of it too, joining a work team, which does the same thing, which, I mean, unfortunately for some people, they have good teams and sometimes they don't, right? And how that environment plays a role in like your work-life balance and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to have you part of this team, Sean, by the way.
You admitted this on live. This is saved for life, Joe. Thank you.
I don't usually tell him this in person. I show very little appreciation to him because he gives himself enough appreciation. So, but we do appreciate you. Man, I'm gonna bring it into some questions. We have some questions from some of our clients that have been posted it before from our challenge group, and I thought Sean would be a great coach to be answering some of these because for him, he's a vegan. Actually, talk to me real quick about your vegan experience.
Okay, let me summarize my vegan journey. I grew up, and if my dad's on live right now, he knows this. Meat and potatoes guy. That was our household. It was nothing different. Really wasn't educated around different styles of eating and different lifestyles until I came here and, had access to so much food and different cultures and diversity. But what triggered it was a health issue. And for me, I have part of my team is a naturopath. So I went and had that conversation and we talked about food and environment and all these things that could be contributing to my health issue. And we decided that, maybe changing the diet would be a good start to some of that healing. So me being me, I'm really an all in or all out kind of guy. So there was no phasing at all. It was meat and potatoes one day to full vegan. But I did get support from a food prep company who specializes in vegan meals, and they hooked me up for a month, and I got really good inspiration and ideas from that. And and I've never went back. And it's been a huge part of my life. It's been 2.5 years since I've been vegan, and I have to say, for me, it's been really eye-opening. I realized that you can live a very healthy lifestyle, but also still progress and make gains and still perform at a top level, even with a plant-based diet. So, I've been educating myself and researching and having, healthy debates just around the lifestyle. And, it's been really good. And I think there's a lot of pros to it. But I'm not a food hater. So I'm not one of those vegans who will criticize you for your choices. I'm pro-choice. I think if it works for your lifestyle, I accept that at the end of the day. But if you are interested in looking for something more sustainable and it's something you want to explore, I think there's misconceptions out there. And I think, I'm here to help answer some of those and, give you an avenue to try something different.
All right. So I just want to, anytime you invite them over your place, is a tough one to cook for though. No, just kidding.
Oftentimes I don't get cooked for and I bring my own food.
That'll be next time. You come to my house, you bring your own stuff to cook. I'll cook it. I'll throw it on the grill.
We should have a vegan inspired cookout. I would like that.
Maybe. We have a question from Telma. She asks, I've made a personal choice on becoming vegetarian So what more can I do now to lower my body fat percentage and increase muscle mass?
So congratulations, Selma. That's awesome. So I would, send the question back to you is, why? What's your it that's motivating you to become, vegetarian? I think that will help you be successful. So that's part one. Part two would be just through learning, obviously my training goals and performing and my composition is so much different. And, I understand biology and anatomy and physiology all factor into these things. What's worked for me has been, really focusing on protein-rich foods, because a lot of the vegan choices are carbohydrate heavy, to say the least, when you think about the rices and legumes and beans. So I've been really conscious of that and really focusing on protein-rich foods, and intermittent fasting has worked a lot for me. So I've really kind of coupled that or supplemented with intermittent fasting just to make sure that I'm not overdoing the carbohydrates and, taking in too many calories each day. So it's been trial and error, but I think you need to find the balance and find the protein-rich foods as well, and be okay to trial and error. It's not going to be perfect from the top. So what may work for you last week may not work for you this week. So just be open-minded and explore and educate and jump on a lot of blogs. I follow some great YouTubers and some great blogs just around vegan lifestyles, and I get stuff pushed to my phone all the time, and, it gives me inspiration. So I definitely say get out there and do some research. And, if you do need anything, definitely DM me, let me know.
Good. I want to touch on this one too. I think when you are going vegetarian, and if it's your choice to, just understand, like Sean was saying, that there are a lot of carbs in vegetarian choices. So you need to make sure that everything you eat has some protein in it. If that was like one tip I'd give, it'd be look at every single piece of food and make sure that at least 25% of it is protein. That way you'll get your protein intake throughout the day, which we know that protein is what we need in order to build muscle. So start tracking your foods. You got to be a lot tighter than most people, because you need to know that information. So.
Yeah, good point, Joe. And I just want to say this, I don't take my approach all in. I think you need to plan for it, because it does require planning. When you look at the macros and, how obviously they're so different than, meat sources, you need to be very thoughtful about that and, do your research. And the research will help you be successful for sure.
For sure. Cool. Thanks. We got another one from Lena. She asks, I am struggling with diet. What should I do?
Great question. We've all been there. That's 100%. And I think this is where I'm going to loop back around to your team and say, who's on your team that's supporting you from a nutritional perspective? Is it Fight Fit? Are you on a meal plan? And I think some analysis has to go on to see, where the gaps are and, where potentially we could help. So it's a very broad question. I think the first thing is understanding, what support you have or what gaps in support that you have, and, creating those relationships to make sure that you're supported. But again, and it's not about perfection. We all struggle. Right. I think you need to own the struggle, but also take ownership over the results and make sure you're reaching out to the right people or your team to get that nutritional advice that you need.
Yeah, that's a great. What you mentioned there important about the team, but I also want to touch on nobody's perfect. Like you said, it's all about progress. You think us as coaches, we're 100% all the time. Some weeks water's off, some weeks sleep's off, workouts are off, right? Except Sean, right? He's always off. But there's always something that's off, and that's why you need that feedback and that accountability system to say, even posing the question to yourself, what is that one thing you could have done better last week, and make that one change, right? One step at a time, little wins, little battles win the war. So just look at that one thing that you could have improved on and focus on that. Take it one step at a time. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah. That's a great point, Joe. Yeah, I know you're very numbers oriented.
Yeah. But I also like not too many action steps. I think people kill themselves by, I'm going to make sure my sleep's good. I'm going to make sure my macros are hit. I'm going to make sure this are hit. And we just get overwhelmed. Nobody operates that way. Not everybody's that intensely focused on Like, unless you live in a bubble like The Biggest Loser, where you're in a farm, so, where they could take away everything from you, which I've thought about starting for some people. But that doesn't, another thing on that, before I go on to this next question, is that doesn't teach you to do it on your own. And that's the problem. When you live in a bubble, in like in a lab where they could take all the variables away from your life, and of course you're going to lose weight. What happens when you leave the lab? Right? Captured animals, like in SeaWorld, when they give them the food, they go back in the wild. They can't hunt on their own.
Right.
So it's really important that everybody says life's too busy. I have this thing coming up. I have this party. I have this thing. I have a birthday. I have quarantine. When's that ever going to change? Mm-hmm. COVID's just been another thing. Just like Christmas, just like Thanksgiving. So sorry, I got a little heated with there. But let's go to the next question. Cassandra asks, how do you feel about intermittent fasting?
Amazing. Personal opinion, not everybody's on the IF bandwagon. I speak from experience. I've tried it, off and on for years. I think in this last year, it's been a lot more consistent, just because I've, had very specific goals, and, obviously my carb intake is a little bit higher because of my veganism. But I love it. I think there's a lot of benefits to it when you think about it and you do your research, just around kind of how our body responds to, that fasting phase, how we kind of move nutrients through our body. Obviously the benefits from a weight loss perspective, even mental acuity, when you're going through fasting, there's a lot of benefits, not just physically, but also mentally. So I'd say do your research. There's different variations of IF. I wouldn't go in, with a 2-day fast a week to start it off. I would start gradually and work your way towards something that works for your lifestyle. So it's not a one size fits all approach. I think there's options out there. And if you're interested, it's very easy to incorporate into your day. Some people love it. Some people aren't huge fans based on their lifestyle, but I'd say research it. Start gradually, and if your goal is to lose weight and kind of get control and a better rhythm over your day, not thinking about food for 16 hours a day is nice, and we can fill up that brain capacity with other things that are positive in your life.
Sure. I had somebody talk about this intermittent fasting on another episode, and they were talking about the difference between time restricted fasting versus like extended fasting, like you talk about the health benefits there. I personally don't like prescribing fasting to clients who are coming off of, unless it depends. Again, it's all, any good trainer will say it depends because everybody's lifestyle situation is different. But I don't like it because I don't think it teaches the proper way for people to have a relationship with food. I think understanding food first should be the first thing. Understanding proteins, carbs, fats, where those calories equal and what's the output of them. And then you use fasting as a tool to offset some of the high days and low days. That's my personal preference with it. I just think that the body adapts to things. It's an amazing machine. And IF is just a tool to help you achieve a similar result. Like a Ferrari and a Honda Civic is going to get you the same place. One's not better. Well, technically one is better than the other. One's more expensive. But so are all these pills. You can get all these pills and everything to get you to the same destination. But they all do the same thing, which is you operate at a calorie deficit in order for you to lose weight. So again, depends on your lifestyle. Just like if you were to buy a Honda Civic versus a Ferrari, they both get you to the destination. Just one a little bit more in style and flashier.
So in this scenario, Joe, who's the Ferrari and who's the Honda Civic?
You're more like no knock on no, I'm not gonna say it because some people might drive these cars. I don't want to say what kind of car.
Keep your car hate to yourself.
You're like
Joe.
You're like you know what you are? You're like a repurposed Ford. You're a Ford turned into a hybrid. That's what I was saying.
I think I'm a Jaguar. I'm classy.
No,
yeah, listen, I'm a Jaguar. You're a Prius.
Prius?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't knock a Prius. I think I'm a Tesla. Come on. I'm like innovative.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say you're a Ford repurposed with a Tesla engine. All right, it's
Okay.
made electric.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
Oh, we got Nitty here. He said you're a Ram.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can plow right through class for sure. I agree. Nice one.
Nice, awesome. I think that's all the questions we have. We may have some other comments here from some other clients here. Karen says, "I feel eating meat may be making me feel heavy and sluggish."
Yep,
Which
that's
could be
true.
it.
When you think about it, I think your inflammatory response to eating meat, the science is out there and the research is out there. It creates inflammation. So I'm not surprised to hear that. And, I think you can start introducing more plant-based options into your diet and seeing kind of what works best for you. And just keeping it simple. I don't think you need to stack the deck and try all of these things that are going on. But be open-minded and see how you feel if you're trying more plant-based options, and make a decision based on your lifestyle.
Yeah, I would look at the quality, Karen, of your meats too. Like I'm not. I do understand the inflammatory things that happen when you do eat meat, but I would look at where it's coming from too, right? A lot of the stuff is race, hormones, all these hormones that are injected, antibiotics that are injected into the animal to keep them healthy, gets passed on to you. So look at where you're getting your meats. I know it's easier said than done, but like that'd be where I would look into if you do continue eating meat.
Come over to the other side, Karen. It's okay. Just DM me.
Yeah, we're on two different. We're two different contrasts here. Faye says when she eats meats, mostly minced, so it's easier to digest. It's a good way to do it. And so, look, she talks about just with her fasting schedule from 7 p.m. around 11 a.m. combined. Good, awesome.
Can I just say, Faye's been such an incredible light and promoter during this pandemic. I've seen her all over our social threads, and she's a client of mine, and I know Herman's been supporting her from a challenge perspective. And I just want to shout out all my clients, and they're incredible. I feel so blessed and fortunate, and Faye's a great example of that. She made a connection. She knows what her it is, and she has been driving it for months, and it shows in her results. She's had some of the best results she's had in years. So big thumbs up, Faye. So proud of you.
I mean, crush you, Faye. Keep it up. Keep it up. All awesome stuff. We got one more question. I'm just going to take this last question because we're running out of time. How do I get the cravings off? Mid here. How do I get the cravings off?
Listen, interesting question. I was chatting with Joe before we went live. He's a salty guy. I'm a sweet guy. I'm not surprised. We're polar opposites. And you have your cravings at the end of the day. I think there's a lot of science and research around sugar and salt, how it affects your body, but also makes you crave and gives you into this addict mindset about those types of things. I'd say just find different options. A couple things that I like to do is I do protein powder and avocado. It's nice thick. It's like a pudding consistency. I know people do egg white popsicles. They'll do protein with egg whites and they'll freeze it, so they have a little bit of a treat at the end of the day, which is sugar free but also high protein. So I just think find different options and play around and explore, because there's so much out there.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're sweet or salty, there's a lot that you can do.
Yep. I would track it. Going back to my mindsets, like how can I add it? I've been on a 12-week cut myself, and I still eat some of the stuff. Like I'll have chips, I have beer from time to time. But the thing is, I put it into my tracking. And if you guys aren't using MyFitnessPal, it's a great tool to know where your macros are and your calories are, and just see how you can work it in. If I know I'm going to have that treat at the end of the day, at least it's planned, rather than letting myself emotionally go out of control and spiral into eating whatever I want, because I just lose sight of it. But having it tracked so that you're going to be given that treat.
MyFitnessPal, yes.
Yeah. It's an excellent tool everybody should be using to be tracking their food at a higher level. A lot of the clients that I work with one-on-one, they all track their foods. There's no hiding what they eat. We know exactly what they're eating. And a lot of the times, the times they run into challenges is when they don't plan for the foods. And it's just that emotional trigger that's like, I want that, I'm going to eat it. And you get that quick feedback like, it's so good, I love it. Why did I like? And then you keep going for it.
Can I make another point, Joe, just on the treat side of it? And I've shared this with a lot of clients, and I do it with myself. I think we feel very entitled and indulge. If we have a good day and it's like, hey, we haven't had a bad meal, we just indulge and we undo all of our great work. I find a reward system is what works best. So you have to earn your treats. You do that by focusing on your mini goals, whether it's, something performance related, or you want to fit into this, or a weight loss goal, or sleep related, whatever it is. You have to earn them at the end of the day, and it's not something that we should feel entitled to. And that's where we get out of control, is this entitlement over food, and we just overindulge, and it's this very slippery slope. But if you start thinking about it in a reward-based system, how do I earn that? You'll find that you really just appreciate them more. They taste so much better, and you're just that more motivated to actually reach your goals.
Man, I'm going to go off on a tangent with this one. I love the reward and trigger. Like people, this entitlement that people feel when it comes to food. If you've gained weight over your time, and then you suddenly say, "Oh, I think I'm good. I've had a great day. I'm going to relax with a beer. I'm going to relax with a glass of wine." It's a slippery slope. All right, I'm just going to stop there because I might go off.
That's why knowing your it is so important. So you intensely target your it. And if you have your it, you'll have reward systems, and you'll have all that progress that you're looking for. So if anything is taken away from today, find your it and, really focus on it, and, let us know how we can help you with that.
Love it. Love it. Sean, before I end, I always love this question. I ask everybody, Kung Fu movie, Kung Fu or action movie. I love the hero arc, because I think that's everybody's life. Everybody has gone through a struggle where they've gotten beat up, they've gotten into fights, and they got their butt kicked, but they've come back. It's a comeback story. So what is your favorite? I used to say Kung Fu action movie, but not everybody watches Kung Fu and action movies like me. But what's your favorite hero arc movie of all time, and why?
Okay. I think I have a good one. I do want to credit Bruce Lee. And I know, he's been since the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I've seen his stuff over decades and decades. I think he's great. He's insane at what he does. For me, I think, Die Hard was such a cool series. When you think about how that played out, and just, the whole storyline, I thought Die Hard, Bruce Willis, classic. All day.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Awesome, Sean. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, if they have any questions, what's the best way to get at you?
So good question. So I'm looking at putting more thoughtful content out, getting my social platforms up this year. I'm the worst with social. Everybody knows that. You can still, you can get me on Facebook as Sean is Living with an extra G. I'll have a YouTube channel and my Snap, as well as Twitter going out this year too. So you guys can check that out.
Ooh, we've got a lot of content. Sean, well, thank you for being on the show and sharing your secrets on health, wealth, and being kick-ass. All right, see you later, guys. Thanks for watching.
See you guys.